This is the very last process. It's done with straight black paint. There are no trunks on any of these trees, because once you put trunks on them, it pushes them to the foreground. You really don't want that. Now, for this technique, I'm going to be using a fan brush. Okay. What we're going to do is make conifers. And I've shown this a few times before, but it goes, you take a big fan brush and you load it up with black. I mean, you really load it up. Just look at that, it's just loaded with paint. And a fan brush has got a curve on it, so you can use a small part for the top of the tree, and as you come down the tree, you're going to use the whole thing. So where can I provide you an example? How about right here? We'll start by building the top of the tree just by putting a dot there, and then a little bit, you notice I'm using just part of the fan brush just to tap like so. That's the sort of the top of your conifer. Now if I use half of it, you notice that the push becomes bigger. So I'm going to just tap down, tap down, tap down. I'm not going to go too wide because I don't want it to look like a Christmas tree. At the most it's probably the width of the brush, or just beyond in terms of width. Like that. And that's one tree. Now it takes about, you can count the seconds off, Tom, as I go to do this here. Ready to go?
Okay.
There, start. And I'm lightly tapping, I'm not pushing hard. There. How long did that take?
20 seconds.
20 seconds per tree, not a bad deal. Considering most of these things are a pain in the butt to make out of some sort of thread and wire or something. And it's always good to have the real ones, of course, but just tapping these little black trees like so, again, generates more dimension. Do them in groups of threes. The size of the tree, if you vary the size, and depending where you stop it, it may look like it's farther back, or it's on the same plane as the one you just generated. Do a little tiny one in there, just like that. And remember, this is behind the building. And over here you might, just to break up this tree, you can put in one right in front, like so. That pushes the one behind farther back. Got to make sure there's lots of paint on your brush, either that or the technique won't work. Yeah. There you go. Now as it gets softer, you notice the black paint doesn't apply as well, so you have to even be more delicate when the brush starts to soften up. But I guess that this is more of impression management than anything else. And eventually, as Tom will have real trees in front of these, so he only needs about 2 or 3 real ones to make a forest. And because these are behind the real trees, they would be black because there's not much light that gets in on the forest floor. We have a nice big tall one here. It's been here a long time. So these go in pretty nicely. Now you may have to go through 10 or 12 dozen of these on a spare board to get, or like a piece of cardboard or something, to get the technique down, but it's well worth it. And maybe 1 in 10 of your guys at your club will be able to do it with confidence. And that's okay, because once they start making these, they'll have fun doing them, so they won't mind. They'll just go nuts. You just have to control that they don't put too many in, and you won't be able to see the forest for the trees. So as you can see, I put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 in so far. We've probably been working at it for about, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes.
Not even that.
Not even that. Here. Now you might say, you know, that should look more like it's behind or whatever. Remember, there's a building that's going to go in there, so it doesn't really matter. Put little shorties in if you want, just over top of the foreground there. You don't need big ones all the time. You can just tap too like this and generate a bunch of them. You know, it creates a different effect. If you want to grab a little bit of yellow sometimes and just tap over top, it puts light on them. It's a little bit too sophisticated for my liking though. You sort of like to, there's a little bit of yellow in it, it softens it, it doesn't look quite as strong, but remember it won't, when it dries it won't be as stark as this. But you can almost see where a tree is begging to be. Make them all the same height. Yeah, put a few more here. And of course, anywhere where there's a town, a lot of the trees have been cut down and used for building the buildings and stuff like that. If your paint's getting a little dry, just go grab some water on your fan brush, dab it into the black here, because it won't apply properly if it's not wet enough. And number 3. I kind of like that just the way it is. And then this one here, maybe something there just to making it shorter to almost go with this slope. Sort of the artistic aspect of deciding what you want to do. And you can have one sitting out in the middle of the field all by itself here, just to break up that field and push it back further. It's pretty dark here, so dark on dark is okay. One here. And another one. It's just going behind those bushes. Right on the corner. This is always fun to do it right on the corner, because you gotta get it around one side and one around the other. This helps paint out the corner a little bit on each side. Where did the corner go? There, the corner's gone. Gotta love it. Yeah, and this is kind of messy in here, so I'll just paint it out with some of these trees.
Chris, if you use a smaller fan brush, could you change your technique?
Nope, same technique. You just find that you'll end up with smaller trees. It really determines the size of the tree you're working with. You know, if you're using a small one, so you're not going to be able to, you're only going to be like an inch wide rather than, this is I think possibly about 1.5 to 2 inches. So I'm only using half the brush at the top there, but then as I come down I start to use more of it until I'm tapping side by side here to create a tree that's probably 3 inches wide. And just get my rule of 3s in there, and maybe a few little bushy things here. You don't even have to be trees, I mean they can just be bushes. And let's put a couple of those in there. Let's put a little bit of a bush in. Even just tapping with this brush at the base here, you can almost create shadowed, what almost looks like grass, eh? Just creates a little bit of dimension in it. And our big corner here, let's get that tree. I have to come around here a bit. I don't know if that'll come out. That one, will it? Oh, it's strong. I wouldn't bother. You tried. Okay, just a little top. Just touching. They're letting the bristles go to each side. A little more. A little more. A little more. That's a pretty solid colored tree there, but that's okay. It's not too wide, but put another one beside it, a little bit lower on each side. Let's tap it in. And maybe put a lot of trees here. I find if you put a lot of trees in the corner, that really makes the corner disappear. If you're not happy with this and you want to make it sprinkle a little bit more, just push over top a few extra branches. And just see the continuity now of where we joined the two paint jobs here and here. Now that it's dried, you can see it's almost identical. So I'll put a big tree in there.
Are you all frozen yet?
Just about.
I'll put some
Go around the
soup
corner.
on.
Okay, go around the corner.
So as we're doing this here, it'll finish it off quite nicely. So now we've pretty much done the whole thing, and we're now asking for the royal approval. What do you think now that you come down and you've seen your basement wall right there? Yeah, so we put some flat buildings in front of these, and then we'll paint on top of those. And then the real buildings and the real trees. And so really here we've done 24 feet in roughly 2.5 hours. Yep. So I stuck to my 6.5 foot an hour rule, or 6 feet an hour rule, and maybe did a little better than that. But that's a good thing. It just goes to show you, if you have 20 people in your club and half of them can do this, you can get a lot of backdrop painted in a very short period of time. And I believe this is something that anybody can do. I know Bill Alexander would be happy as long as I said something like, you fire those trees in there. And he was my inspiration for a lot of this kind of work, so I just encourage everybody to give it a try. And that was fun. Thanks very much, Tom, for talking to us today about the Canadian Northern Railway. How many years has it been now on this model railroad you've been working on?
I'm afraid to say, what, 40? Probably.
40 years, all hand-laid track.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Whoop.
Really quite exciting.
Thanks.
Well, just using what I got here to...
Clean it all up. That looks really nice.
It's funny.
Oh yeah.
I'll just try maybe one more little one in here. Break my rule of 3s.
I need to get the other phone out.
Yeah, so this is a spectacular scene here.